My perfect sister used me as a punching bag until she drew red, then played protective big sister in front of our parents. So I let her torment me until she slipped up and exposed her to show everyone her true nature. It worked. But now, years later, she's back, and I think I know what she wants. Once, my older sister used to pinch me till I bled. One time, I used her hairbrush without asking, and she pinched my arms so hard that I ended up going to basketball tryouts looking like I'd been attacked by a wild animal. Her reasoning? I got my disgusting boy germs on her stuff, and when I turned 14, I started to get sick of it. It all started when I accidentally left the bathroom door unlocked. She barged in while I was showering and started pinching my back until I was screaming, but I was ready. I grabbed her wrist and squeezed it back. Except my little act of revenge didn't feel as good as I thought it would. In fact, it made me feel worse, so much so that I started crying for being such a terrible brother and let her pinch me back 10 times harder. And don't get me wrong, I loved my parents, but I know they saw my bruises, the nail marks. I know they could hear me crying in my room after her attacks, but they never did anything. Because in their eyes, she was the social butterfly who kept our family's reputation spotless. Plus, when we were at school, she had the protective big sister role down to a T. She'd hold my hand walking through the hallways. She'd introduce me as her favorite little brother to all her friends. It was sickening, but one good thing did come out of it: my pain tolerance. You see, I channeled all that hurt into sports. So by 16, not only was I varsity basketball captain, but I could take hits that would drop other kids. She was a senior at this point, grade above me, and I was constantly hearing the drama in her friend group. At this point, she had stopped pinching me as much, mostly because I'd gotten bigger, and all I wanted was to have a good relationship with her. So when her entire friend group ditched her 18th birthday party for Ashley's party, I knew I had to help. Ashley and my sister had been beefing over some guy named Tyler. My sister spent the whole morning crying about how no one would come to her party. I spent the entire day fixing it, hit up everyone I knew, kids from basketball, other schools, even some college freshmen I knew, told them about free alcohol, good music. By 8 p.m., I'd gotten like 40 people to show up. The party was incredible. She pulled me aside halfway through, tears in her eyes, happy ones this time, and said I was the best brother in the world. We even did shots together. She kept telling everyone how I'd saved her birthday. For the first time in my life, I felt like we were actual siblings, or so I thought. Because as it turns out, Tyler was Ashley's cousin, and he showed up hammered as hell with his new girlfriend around 11 p.m. Started yelling about how my sister was so desperate she had to get her loser brother to beg people to come, how she was paying random freshmen to pretend they liked her. The party cleared out in 20 minutes. She didn't talk to me for 2 days. Then when our parents went to their anniversary dinner, I heard a knock on my bedroom door. It was her. "Can we talk?" she asked sweetly. I opened up, and she immediately shoved me against the wall. "You knew Tyler was Ashley's cousin. You invited him to humiliate me. You've always been jealous that I'm the favorite." She was holding her hair straightener, still hot from doing her hair. Before I could even process what was happening, she swung it at my face. "You ruined my life!" I ducked instinctively. There was a sizzling sound, followed by the most blood-curdling scream I've ever heard. She'd pressed the straightener against her own neck when she missed me. Red blisters were already forming. She ran to the bathroom, and I could hear her sobbing. I called 911 immediately, my hands shaking. She ended up needing skin grafts. The burn was 3rd degree. When my parents got to the hospital and asked what happened, I just said, "Check her phone." Years of texts to her friends, bragging about making me cry, calling me her practice dummy for when she had real problems. Photos of my bruises she'd sent to group chats with laughing emojis. My dad's face went ghost white. My mom started crying. They separated us at the hospital. A nurse took me to a different room while they worked on my sister's neck. I sat there for 3 hours, answering the same questions over and over. The police showed up around 2 a.m. 2 officers, both looking exhausted. They asked me to walk them through everything that happened. I showed them the texts on my phone, years of messages from my sister to her friends, screenshots I'd been saving since I was 12, just in case anyone ever asked why I had so many bruises. The female officer's jaw tightened when she read through them. She kept scrolling, her face getting darker with each message. My parents arrived at the police station around 4 a.m. Mom's mascara was streaked down her face. Dad kept running his hands through his hair, making it stick up in weird directions. They wouldn't look at me. The detective assigned to our case was named Catherine. She had kind eyes but asked hard questions. She wanted to know about every incident I could remember, every pinch, every bruise, every time my parents saw what happened and did nothing. I told her about the basketball tryouts, about the shower incident, about how my sister would smile at school assemblies while digging her nails into my arm under the table. Catherine wrote everything down in a small notebook. Child Protective Services got involved the next morning. A social worker named Nicholas came to interview us at home. He was younger than I expected, maybe late 20s, with a gentle way of speaking that made me want to tell him everything. My sister came home after 2 days in the hospital. Her neck was wrapped in white gauze. She couldn't turn her head without wincing. The doctors said she'd need multiple surgeries. The scarring would be permanent. She moved into our guest room. Mom took time off work to help her with the bandage changes. I could hear them talking softly through the walls. Sometimes my sister would cry. Not the fake tears she used to manipulate people, but real, painful pitiful sobs. Nicholas visited twice a week. He'd talk to each of us separately, then together as a family. My parents had to attend mandatory counseling sessions. The court ordered it. They went every Tuesday and Thursday, coming home with red eyes and tight lips. School was weird. Word got out about what happened, though the details were fuzzy. Some kids thought I'd attacked my sister. Others heard she'd hurt herself. Ashley actually approached me in the hallway one day, looking uncomfortable. Tyler feels bad about what he said at the party, she mumbled. He was hammered. He didn't mean to start all that. I just nodded. What else could I say? That his drunken rant had triggered the worst night of my life? That my sister was scarred forever because of a stupid birthday party? Basketball practice became my escape. Coach pulled me aside after the first practice back, asked if I needed time off. I told him I needed to play more than ever. He understood. Let me stay late, shooting free throws until the janitor kicked us out. My sister started physical therapy 3 weeks after the incident. The burn had damaged some nerves. She had trouble moving her neck certain ways. I drove her to appointments because our parents were at work. We'd sit in silence during the 20-minute drive. One day, she spoke up. I know you hate me. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. I don't hate you. You should. Her voice was flat. I've been horrible to you. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to agree, to list every terrible thing she'd done. But seeing her struggle to turn her head, watching her wince when the physical therapist stretched her neck, unalived that impulse. Catherine called a family meeting 6 weeks after the incident. She brought another social worker, an older woman named Kathy, who specialized in family trauma. They sat us all down in our living room. We need to discuss long-term plans, Catherine said. The criminal investigation is ongoing, but we need to focus on healing as a family. My sister had to complete anger management classes. Court ordered, like our parents' counseling. She went every Monday evening. I'd see her workbook sometimes, left on the kitchen counter. Pages of exercises about identifying triggers and managing emotions. The investigation revealed more than anyone expected. Catherine had interviewed my sister's friends. Several admitted they'd been uncomfortable with how she treated me. One girl, Kat, had even saved screenshots of particularly cruel messages, planning to show someone but never following through. My parents had to face hard truths. The social workers didn't sugarcoat anything. They'd failed to protect me. They'd enabled my sister's behavior. Dad broke down during one session, admitting he'd always known something was wrong, but didn't want to believe his daughter could be abusive. 3 months passed. My sister's bandages came off, revealing angry red scars across her neck. She started wearing turtlenecks and scarves, even in warm weather. Her friends visited less and less. The popular girl who'd ruled the school became someone people whispered about in the halls. We ate dinner together every night now. Another court requirement. Supervised family time. Nicholas or Kathy would sometimes join us, observing our interactions. The conversations were stilted, careful. We talked about safe topics. Weather, sports, TV shows. One evening during dinner, my sister dropped her fork. The clatter made everyone jump. She bent to pick it up, then froze halfway down, her hand going to her neck. The scar tissue didn't stretch the same way normal skin did. I got up to help, but she waved me off. I've got it. Her voice came out strained. She managed to grab the fork, but when she straightened up, tears were streaming down her face. Mom reached for her, but my sister pulled away. Don't. Just don't. She left the table, her food untouched. We heard her bedroom door slam. Nicholas made a note in his folder. He always had that folder during our dinners. Never said much, just observed and wrote things down. The next morning, I found my sister in the kitchen at 5 a.m. She was trying to make coffee, but couldn't tilt her head back enough to see if she'd filled the pot properly. Water was everywhere. Let me help, I said. She stepped aside without arguing. That's when I noticed the bruises on her arms, fresh ones, purple and yellow marks that looked like fingerprints. What happened to your arms? She pulled her sleeves down. Nothing. I just bruised easily now. The medication makes my skin sensitive, but I recognized those marks. I'd worn enough of them to know what they looked like. Someone had grabbed her, hard. At school that day, I saw her ex-best friend Mia cornering her by the lockers. Mia was gesturing aggressively, getting in my sister's face. My sister just stood there, taking it. The girl who used to rule the hallways with an iron fist now couldn't even defend herself. I walked over. Everything okay here? Mia turned on me. Oh look, the victim's here to save his psycho sister. How sweet. We're leaving, I said, guiding my sister away. In the car after school, she finally broke. They all hate me. Every single person at school thinks I'm a monster. Mia grabbed me yesterday, said I deserved worse than some scars, said she wished the straightener had hit my face instead. I didn't know how to respond. Part of me understood their anger. My sister had hurt a lot of people over the years, not just me, but seeing her like this, broken and afraid, made my chest tight. Catherine scheduled an emergency session that week. She'd gotten reports from the school about escalating harassment. My sister sat hunched in her chair, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. We need to discuss alternative schooling options, Catherine said. The current environment isn't conducive to healing. My parents exchanged looks. Mom spoke first. We can't afford private school. There are online programs, Catherine suggested. Or we could look into transferring to Westfield High across town. My sister shook her head. I have 3 months left. I can handle it. But she couldn't. The next week, someone spray-painted abuser across her locker. The janitor tried to clean it off, but you could still see the ghost of the letters. She started eating lunch in the nurse's office. I tried to help where I could, walked her to classes when our schedules aligned, sat with her at lunch when the nurse wasn't available. My basketball teammates didn't understand. understand. Why are you protecting her? Jake asked during practice. After everything she did to you? I missed my free throw. She's still my sister. She's getting what she deserves, another teammate said. Coach overheard and made the whole team run suicides. We don't kick people when they're down, he said. That's not what this team is about. But the damage was spreading. Our parents started fighting more. I'd hear them in their bedroom at night, voices raised. Mom blamed Dad for ignoring the signs. Dad blamed Mom for babying my sister. Both of them blamed themselves. One night, I heard a crash from their room. I found Dad sleeping on the couch the next morning. He'd been there ever since. Nicholas increased his visits to 3 times a week. The court was monitoring our family closely. There was talk of extending the supervision period. My parents had to submit weekly reports about our progress. My sister's physical therapy wasn't going well either. The therapist said she was developing compensatory movement patterns that could cause long-term problems. She needed to do exercises at home, but she'd given up. I started going to her room after dinner, making her do the stretches. She'd resist at first, but eventually gave in. We'd sit on her floor, me counting repetitions while she worked through the pain. Remember when we used to play board games? She asked one night during stretches, before I got mean. I did remember. We'd been close when we were really young, before middle school changed everything, before she decided I was an embarrassment. What happened? I asked. When did you start hating me? She was quiet for a long moment. I never hated you. I hated that you were better than me, nicer, more genuine. People actually liked you for you. They only liked me because I made them afraid not to. The admission hung between us. I helped her with the final stretch, watching her face contort with pain as the scar tissue pulled. 2 weeks before graduation, everything imploded. My sister had been doing better, keeping her head down, just trying to make it through. Then someone posted the screenshots online, all the messages she'd sent about me over the years, the photos of my bruises, everything. The post went viral in our school community. Parents started calling for her expulsion. The principal had to hold an emergency assembly about cyberbullying. It didn't matter. The damage was done. My sister didn't come home that night. My parents called the police at midnight. I drove around looking for her, checking all the places I thought she might go. The park where we used to play as kids, the beach where our family had picnics. I found her car at the old railroad bridge outside town. She was sitting on the hood, legs dangling over the edge. The drop wasn't fatal, but it would hurt. We both knew about hurting. Don't, I said, approaching slowly. I wasn't going to jump, she said. I just needed to think. I sat beside her. We stayed there for an hour, not talking, just existing in the space between what was and what could have been. I'm sorry, she finally said, for everything. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. I know, I said, and I did. The apology didn't erase the scars, physical or emotional, but it was a start. We drove home separately. Our parents were waiting, along with 2 police officers. There were procedures for missing persons, even ones who came back, more reports, more documentation. Catherine arranged for my sister to finish school from home. The principal agreed it was best for everyone. She'd get her diploma, but wouldn't walk at graduation. Another consequence of that night with the straightener. The house felt different with her home all day, quieter, despite her presence. She spent most of her time in her room, working on assignments and attending virtual anger management sessions. I'd check on her between my own classes and basketball practice. Sometimes I'd find her doing her physical therapy exercises without prompting. Other times she'd be staring at her reflection, fingers tracing the scars on her neck. Our parents' marriage was hanging by a thread. They'd started couples counseling on top of everything else. Some nights Dad still slept on the couch. Mom had stopped cooking elaborate dinners, and we lived on takeout and frozen meals. Nicholas pulled me aside during one visit. How are you handling all this? I'm fine, I said automatically. It's okay if you're not, he said. You've been through significant trauma. Your feelings matter too. But I didn't know how to explain the guilt that sat in my stomach like a stone. If I hadn't ducked that night, none of this would have happened. My sister would be graduating normally. My parents would still be happy. Our family wouldn't be under constant supervision. The rational part of me knew it wasn't my fault. She'd swung a hot straightener at my face. Ducking was instinct, but rationality didn't make the guilt disappear. Basketball season ended with us making it to regionals. I played my worst game, couldn't focus, kept thinking about my sister at home, alone while everyone else celebrated. We lost by 12 points. After the game, coach found me in the locker room. You've got a lot on your shoulders, he said, but you can't carry everyone else's burden. Sometimes people have to face their own consequences. He was right, but it didn't make watching my sister suffer any easier. The girl who'd tormented me for years had become someone I worried about constantly. The irony wasn't lost on me. Graduation day arrived with unusual May heat. I put on my cap and gown, trying to feel excited about the milestone. My parents came separately, sitting on opposite sides of the auditorium. My sister stayed home. As I walked across the stage, I thought about her sitting in her room, watching her classmates' Instagram stories of their celebration. Part of me wanted to skip the after parties and go home, but Nicholas had been clear. I needed to maintain my own life, my own milestones, so I went to Jake's party, tried to act normal, but when someone made a joke about psycho sisters, I left. Found myself driving home, still in my graduation gown. My sister was in the backyard, attempting to plant flowers in Mom's neglected garden. The physical therapist had suggested gardening for her neck mobility. She looked up when she heard the gate. Shouldn't you be celebrating? She asked. Felt like gardening, I said, grabbing a trowel. We worked in silence, planting marigolds and petunias. The sun hit down on us, making the scars on her neck glisten with sweat. By the time we finished, we were both dirty and exhausted. "Thanks," she said simply. That night, for the first time in months, our whole family ate dinner together without supervision. Dad had come home early. Mom had actually cooked. We sat at our usual spots. The empty chair where Nicholas usually sat somehow louder than his presence. "I got into state," I announced. "Basketball scholarship, full ride." I'd been holding on to the news for weeks. My parents smiled, the first genuine smiles I'd seen from them in months. Even my sister looked pleased, though something flickered behind her eyes. "That's amazing," she said. "You deserve it." After dinner, she knocked on my door. "Can I ask you something?" I let her in. She sat on my bed, picking at a loose thread on my comforter. "Do you think we'll ever be normal again?" she asked. "Our family, I mean." I thought about lying, giving her false hope, but we'd moved past pretty lies. "I don't know," I said honestly, "but maybe we can be something different, maybe better." She nodded, understanding. We'd never have the relationship we could have had. Too much damage, too much history, but perhaps we could build something new from the wreckage. Catherine visited one last time the following week. The official supervision period was ending. We'd completed all court requirements. The investigation had concluded with no criminal charges, just mandatory counseling and supervision. "You've all made significant progress," she said, "but the real work starts now. Without oversight, without requirements, just you as a family, figuring out how to move forward."